In this week's podcast, we talked to Rich Karg and also special guest Aaron Vance. They are two Nashville guys here doing songwriting, publishing, co-writing, and pretty much everything in between. So sit back and enjoy the episode. So, hey, Richard, how's it going today?
I've had a great day, Nathan, and I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on to Community of Confident Musicians, your podcast. This is awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
It's been a long time since we've even, talked or knew he existed or whatever.
I think I saw you at 3rd and Lindsley maybe 10 years ago at, I think, an Eric Pazlay show.
Has it been 10 years?
I think that's how long ago it was. Maybe it was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, maybe around 7 or 8. I know I've seen Eric at least twice at the 3rd and Lindsley, but I pretty much go anywhere where he's playing. I don't care. So tell me a little bit about what you've been up to since we left MTSU and
40 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
All those many years ago.
Okay, well, let's see. In 2005, I graduated, and I was going through the recording industry major in the College of Mass Communications at MTSU. And my brother and I, as you know, were in a duo. And my brother graduated 1 year after that. But immediately after graduation, Andy and I signed a artist developmental publishing deal with Universal Music Publishing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool. And we did that for another 2.5, 3 years. And he decided that it wasn't for him and moved to where he's now with his wife in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. And at that point, I decided to pursue, dip my toe into pursuing an artist career. And that, I think I really quickly learned that I just wanted to be on the creative end of things.
Yeah, totally.
So maybe about 2009, I ended up getting married to a girl that I was seeing there towards the end of the Karg brothers, and thus began the road that I am on today, which is trying to write number ones for country radio.
Yeah.
It's been a very consistent goal the whole time for me.
That's great.
Yep.
So that was it from the beginning. It's I just want to write number ones for whoever would cut them.
Yep. It's that simple.
That's really cool.
Yep.
So how many number ones have you had so far?
None yet. In my head, I've had about 100.
Oh, yeah.
But,
it probably takes writing at least 100 to get one good one, right? Sometimes. At least that's what I hear most songwriters say. It's you got to write 20 just to get a good one, or whatever it is.
I heard, I don't quite know what my opinion would be on that, but my brother and I wrote with an amazing songwriter named Paul Kennerly, an Englishman, and our publisher at Universal Publishing set that up. And Paul has a fascinating story himself. Basically, was rooming with, I believe, Glenn Johns back in the pond.
I use his method all the time for recording drums.
Mm-hmm. And that was kind of his introduction into the music business. I think he was just into marketing, a music fan that was going the route of marketing. Anyways, Paul Kennerly ends up really getting into country music. Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings. I mean, he's just totally into it. And again, this is over in England, and he's got this connection to the music business through Glenn Johns, and writes a concept album, a country music concept album. I believe it's called White Mansions. I'm probably murdering that. But he I think through Glenn, he got to actually make it professionally, and it garnered all this interest. Anyways, ends up in Nashville, and ends up writing for the same publishing company that my brother and I ended up at. But in between that time and when he first came to Nashville, he was husband to, co-producer, co-writer with Emmylou Harris.
Wow. That's cool.
Wrote some really cool songs for some of my favorite artists like Patti Loveless. Anyways, speaking to your point, Paul Kennerly told me and my brother, and this is a different era of songwriting, but his theory was that every songwriter gets 2 great songs a year. If they're full-time at it, they only really get 2 really unique hits a year, which is an interesting metric. I don't know if it's true. I think Ashley Gorley would be laughing at that. But,
yeah.
But,
well, I always hear that the road to success is laid with failure, right? So not saying that every song you write is a failure, but if you only get 2 hit songs a year, well, you gotta write a lot of not so great songs, I guess, to get those 2 amazing ones, right? So
yeah,
just gotta keep failing, keep writing, keep working through stuff to find the little gems or the little nuggets of gold, I guess, right?
I love talking about that. I have another cool story. Don Schlitz is a guy that my brother and I got to work with, and I remember one of the things he said is, man, I was just always writing songs, and the muscle was always being used, the muscle of songwriting. And when I got lucky or successful in business, it was because I was keeping that muscle going, and I just got opportunities but if I hadn't been exercising that muscle on my own the whole time, I wouldn't have been able to make anything of those opportunities.
Right.
And those opportunities come and they go, and you keep exercising that muscle, because if you're going for it, maybe another opportunity will come your way.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
So you're always doing it,
That's really cool. So after Andy moves away, you're kind of trying to do your own artist thing for a while?
Yeah, I'd say that lasted for, 2009, maybe about a year. I would book gigs, whether it be a showcase opening up for a friend at 3rd and Lindsley or 12th and Porter. I had some gigs like that. And then my wife was living in both New York and Nashville at the time, so I'd go up to New York and play some gigs, which was cool, different. But I always thought that what my brother and I did was extremely different from relative to everybody else, and I thought it gave me a good sense of what it takes to stick out, and I just didn't believe that I, as a solo artist, between wanting to be in front of an audience all the time and that different factor ever, I didn't have it. I didn't want it. I didn't want to be out there selling it. I wanted to be more behind the scenes and really writing the songs.
That's cool. So we actually have a guest here. Why don't you introduce your guest and kind of transition from your solo stuff into writing behind the scenes and how you got to work with other people. So go ahead and lead into that.
Well, at the age of, 25, it only took me 7 years to graduate college. I signed a publishing deal early on, and I really wasn't, there were some maybe sparks or flashes of good writing, but I think it took me a long time to really kind of learn who I was and am, at least up to this point, as a writer. And I definitely feel more confident about that now. And I feel like I've put in a lot of time doing it. But between that time and now, you work with certain people and you learn different things, and artists come in you work with them for a period of time, and then they go and they move to the next thing. And probably about 6 years ago, my songwriting teacher from MTSU calls me up and says, "Hey, Rich," and by the way, that's Hal Newman.
Oh yeah, the one and only.
Hal Newman of Windy Holler Music. He and his wife Rachel. I actually had lunch with him today and told him I was coming over here, and he said to say hi to you.
Very cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
He calls me up 6 years ago, 7 maybe. He says, "Hey, I've got this, fella that is going to be over here at Windy Holler Music, and I want to know if you would like to meet him and maybe write some." So I said, "Heck yeah, man!" And we got together, and the very first time that we got together, we wrote a song that is awesome.
Yeah, it sure did.
And his name is Aaron Vance.
Aaron Vance. Oh yes.
Aaron Vance, yeah. How y'all doing?
So if you didn't know, we had another guy here.
Yeah.
And it was a great surprise, pleasant surprise. It was like the more the merrier for me. It's like, hey, you want to talk about music?
Yeah.
I got time for that,
Yeah, I appreciate your graciousness.
No, that's great. So let's concentrate on Aaron a little bit. Let's kind of hear your backstory, and then let's bring it back together for you and Rich, and kind of talk about what you're doing now together.
I moved up here about 7 years ago, and I just pretty much I had a band back in Mississippi, and we were just playing like little places here and there. We had a show at a truck stop. That was like one of my first shows, was at a truck stop, and we did a few songs and did a song that we wrote called Mississippi Rock Roads, and I took that song actually up to brought it up here to Nashville to a guy. I think that the guy's name was Jim Prater, and I was dealing with a lady at the time. She was my manager or whatever at the time, and so he asked me, could I move up here, and I was like, yeah, sure, and that ended up moving up here. But I got out of a deal with that lady and ended up getting with Hal Newman. Mm-hmm. And Hal got with me one day. He said, "Aaron," he said, "we're not gonna write with you this week." He said, "but I got a guy that's gonna write with your name, Rich Karg." I said, "All right." And so I went over to the hills to meet with him, and we wrote. And the first song we ever wrote was a song called "My 2 Weeks." And I think when I met him, I was working at Cracker Barrel. That's the job that transferred up here, so I can move up here.
Sure, yeah.
And
so there's a Cracker Barrel on like every corner, right?
Yeah.
So you can just go to any one of them. It doesn't matter.
Worked at the one over on West End, not West End, over on Charlotte Pike.
Yeah, that's cool.
And at the time I was having a little. It wasn't going too good for the dishwasher. I was a dishwasher, so it wasn't going too good for me. And so we came in and wrote a song called "My 2 Weeks," and that's been 7 years ago.
Wow.
And so we've been writing on and off, and
the idea behind that song, I was at a job for a long time that was just
yeah,
the worst
you were
job.
too, yeah.
It was absolutely, I don't know how I hung in there that long, but it was. I think it was. The idea is in our head, what would happen if we turned in our 2 weeks? How would that go down?
Yeah.
And it's like this dude totally sticking it to his boss. This is my 2 weeks. You can't do the way you do me. I'm talking about every time you screwed me. You're lucky it ain't just 2 seconds. And buddy, for the record, when I leave, I ain't never coming back. I ain't never coming back.
That's
I ain't
cool.
never coming back. And this is my 2 weeks. So it's a nice little story song, and it rocks.
it rocks. The funny thing about it is that this is the first time we have met.
Right.
I'm from fresh out of Mississippi. I'm talking about, when I say fresh out of Mississippi, I'm talking about a road called Eggville Road. Mm-hmm. Fresh out of Mississippi over here in the hills. And we were writing. I didn't go to school I didn't go to MTSU or anything like that. I just came up here, and we started writing. Man, it was like blowing my mind because the way he writes is totally different from how I was writing, And it was like the first day when I got home, I went to sleep. My brain had been worked that much, but it was good, Well,
go into that real fast. So, what's your usual style? And how was it compared to what?
Well, my
Rich
first song
does?
that I ever wrote was a song called Country DNA.
Okay.
You know, so I was
It's an awesome song. That was your first song
First
you ever
song.
wrote. I don't believe that. That's an
First song.
incredible song.
I was doing
No, y'all, this is a great song.
We
you
might
gotta
have to
listen
hear
this,
that
guys.
here in a
It's
little
a
bit.
great song.
I was doing gutters at the time, metal roofs. I had 2 horses. I had probably about 20 dogs. I had a 4-wheel drive. And everything I did on the weekend was never in town. Never in town. The only time I had to go to town, closer to town, just to get gas to put in the 4-wheeler or something like that, you know. Or put gas in the truck just to, you know, to go get the horses shoed or something like that. But we went to the Amish to do all that. But that's where I come from. And so the first song I wrote was Country DNA. Know how to work, know how to play. And
You think it's like an outlaw country kind
yeah,
of
that's what I grew up on. But I also like, you know, stuff like Randy Travis, George Strait and stuff like
Okay,
that. So I grew up
yeah.
on all that type of stuff. And my dad's a preacher now, so growing up, I already had it rough because the preacher's kids are always the worst ones. You
Oh,
know,
sure,
so
yeah.
you know you have to put your knuckles up just to prove to everybody else that, you know, hey man, I'm just here for the ride, you know. And
Yeah.
so with that, that's a song that I pretty much I sat down and I wrote, and that's the first song that I wrote that I could play along with a Waylon song, because Lonesome I Never Mean, a Waylon song was the first song I ever played. So
Yeah, that's cool.
and so with writing with Rich, it was totally different. I just, you know, take a look at me, tell me what you see. Do you see color? Do you see country? Writing with Rich was totally different, you know, because I'm writing with somebody that didn't write the country I wrote, you know.
Right.
So it's like having football cleats on and you on a baseball field. You know, it worked, but you know.
And Rich, what do you think your style is? Or do you have a style? Do you just kind of write whatever comes to you? Or
I can tell you where I'm at right now. Back then, I was writing for a publisher named Woody Bomar. And I was writing with a lot of different people. And it was just get in there and produce. And I was the track guy, so I also had to make the demo. So it was just a lot of time investment.
oh yeah,
But right now, I at the beginning of every year, I'm very goal oriented. I'll hang posters up. You know, like if it weren't for my wife, I would have one like right beside my bed. You know, it would be the first and last thing I see. But last couple years, because I believe music is such a language of emotion. I think melody is the most important thing. So last 2 years, my goal has been to write better melodies and to write and produce a demo on at least one song that I wrote totally by myself a month.
cool.
And I'm not talking about just like a guitar and a voice. I'm talking like if Richard was the next Dan Huff, what kind of track would I be putting out? You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
really trying.
That's cool.
Really trying. And
Well, what caught me, I think I was on your Instagram or Facebook or something, but you were talking about like mixing and mastering is like, well, I didn't know he did any of that. I just thought he was a songwriter, you know, but you kind of have to know a little bit of everything these days. Otherwise, you're going into a studio and you're working off of their time. But if you can have a home setup or wherever that you can scratch out ideas or do a quick mix and a master just to throw up on Spotify or your SoundCloud or whatever. I mean, that's a great skill to have, you know, if you can
Yes.
do all that. So that's good.
And you know the coolest thing about it, I could talk about this for all night long. It's amazing to
I
me
got till like 3 o'clock, so I'm good.
when you're writing a song by yourself. When a lot of the co-writing is it's BS, because what it is two people that are in a hurry to produce something.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, the best songs can take years. They can take 7 years. So why? So just I feel weird sometimes saying I got to do this in a month. You know, I got to write a song by myself in a month. Sometimes I feel like, gosh, man, that's too much. You know, that's not enough time. But really, what that does is I'm also writing with Aaron. I'm writing with Aham. I'm writing with Patrick. I'm writing with this person, with Reagan Stewart. You know, with all these different people, and if I'm doing it by myself, and on the side I'm putting equal effort into something I'm working on with somebody else, it all it all makes everything stronger. So back to the individual song, when I'm writing a song by myself and I'm tracking it and I'm mixing it at the same time, focusing on making the best melodies, coming up with an idea that I love, that I just know in my heart, doesn't matter what this guy at this place might say about it or this guy at this place might think about it. If I love it, I'm going to sit there over the course of that month and develop that idea. So what I do is I eke out the lyric, you know, and I'll think about it before I go to bed. You know, I'll be looking at it. I'll go into my office every day and work on it. But when you're making that track, you get the skeleton of your lyric, and when you're in the studio, the melody that you write right then, you can rewrite it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the lyric you can rewrite. So you really, like, I find myself even at the very last, before the song is quote done, I'll be rewriting lyric right until the very end. So working on the track gives your brain time to get away from the lyric, but what your brain is really doing is, you're concentrating on a track, but there's a part of that brain that's still working on that lyric.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so
how it all fits together, you know.
And it buys you the time. It's a beautiful synergy or process, really. So I'm of the opinion that they're one and the same now for me.
That's
tracking it and writing it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Because I mean, for me as a producer, or anybody that's a producer, I mean, you're trying to see and hear like the end result even before the first track is done, you know. But you're also in that process, you do have some leeway to tweak and kind of be like, oh, what would a shaker sound like right here, or what, like this bass line, or how does this part accentuate what the melody's already doing, you know, because you got the counterpoint and all that stuff. So
as opposed to two guys sitting in a room under the clock, one of them very quickly decides that he really doesn't even want to be there. So, you know, so let's just get through this.
Right?
Or, you know, I mean, how many times have we all been through that? Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
then you have to go through the BS of, oh, yeah, this is a great song. You know, come on, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there are times when it works beautifully, you know. I don't know. But that's where I'm at right now. You asked me and I'm sorry for the long-winded answer, but it just happens to be my favorite subject in the world of all time. So
yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's cool. So what is tell me about a co-writing process. Like for you two, when you get into a room, like do you come with like some thoughts already figured out, or you just have a blank slate, or what happens?
Ideas, a hook. I have a hook, or I mean most of the time it works out for a hook with me.
Yeah.
You know, and bring it in and it goes from there. It's like how would you put it? I'm a big Western fan, and I like painting pictures. So, if you ever seen Pale Rider, the Clint Eastwood movie Pale Rider, he's a preacher that goes to this village, but he's supposed to be a preacher from the dead, and he brings this village together to fight against this guy called the Hood that owns this valley, and he wants to push these people out of this valley. And Clint Eastwood goes to this big boulder in this valley after punching this guy in the face, which is supposed to be like one of the hitmen for this Hood guy. And he takes this sledgehammer and he hits the rock. When he hit the rock splits in two because they're looking for gold out there.
Right.
And when he hit the rock, the guy next to him started working with him, and he hit, then he hit, then he hit. That's how that co-write works. So I bring in there something.
That's cool.
And he bring in there something. We just started. Next thing you know, you got an album. Called Cabin Fever, yeah. So that's how, you know, to me, that's how co-writing go, because, you know, there's been times I may go in with nothing, and he have a hook and everything, and it just, boom, you know, I throw something in there, and then it goes, and that's how it goes with me, you know, for co-writing and everything.
I think it's interesting because with the hook, sometimes it can be like open-ended.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's so specific that it's kind of hard to write verses to. I don't know. Like, how does that work?
I write a hook. I write a chorus first.
Yeah. But how do you accentuate the chorus with the verses? Like, how is there a process for that, do you think? Or are you just trying to think of like a cool story, or like what's a cool angle that we can kind of support the chorus with, you know?
It's depending on. I guess it depends on. To me, it's depending on what you're talking about. It's depending on what you know. Like, I got a hook. Blue Collar High Life. Got a hook. It went. I wake up every morning stretching and yawning. Cup of coffee on my front porch to alter my ego. All right.
Yeah, but you didn't even rhyme with the B section, though. I'm just kidding.
It's just what I would do with a verse on that would living the blue collar life. Everything is the same under the sun, pretty much. Ain't nothing new. Mm-hmm. It may be new to us, but it's up under the sun. It ain't. It's
right.
The same old. Time keeps going on, but you just got to live it no matter what. And so I would write to the chorus. That's how it is for me. It's hard for me to write a verse and then a chorus. I would have to write a chorus first, then a verse. I write a chorus, then write the verse to it.
Right.
And it always unfolds to me that way. It's easy for me to write it that way.
This is the question for both of you. Is it hard? I hear it's hard to write a second verse. Is it hard for you, or are some second verses easier than others?
Well, at any one given time, I'm literally working on 15 songs. And what I mean by that is in my phone, I've got 15, 30, 45, I'm not joking, ideas that I'm just like always working on.
Oh, yeah.
And when you are doing that over the course of years, you get a lot of those ideas and you get a lot of stuff on them.
Right.
So in my estimation, we're dealing with the language, the melody, I'm saying, the language of emotion. And it's so much about melody. And to me, when I spend that much time thinking about it, it's just that it's no problem come up with second verses. It's if there's a second verse problem, if I'm having a problem, it just means I haven't spent enough time thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And to confine that to one co-write on one day, I think that's where a lot of people are losing. You know, it's really quality verses, right?
Yeah.
But differentiating your sections is where, for me, it always starts. If the verse doesn't sound completely different than the chorus, and people don't know it's a chorus,
right?
You know, I mean, it's that easy. And tracks are their own. I mean, it's funny because it's actually all business. It's all business. Think about the business of it. There's two copyrights. There's underlying, and then there's track copyright. So you got to tell a story with your lyric, and maybe not necessarily a story. Stories are very rarely told these days, like story songs. Yeah. But for the sake of what we're talking about, and then you've got to tell a story with that track. So back to your Blue Collar High Life song. For those of you who check out this record, it's called Cabin Fever by Aaron Vance. That's what we've been referencing. Yeah. It's the first track on there. And it's got that, let's see.
Bo Diddley type, yeah.
Kaboom, boom, chicka boom, kaboom, 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 boom, chicka boom, kaboom, 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 boom, which is break it into sections. Boom, 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 chicka boom. So the verse rhythm is that boom, ka-chunk, ka-boom. But when that chorus hits, and I don't know if you noticed the rhythm of his words, I wake up every morning stretching and yawning. it's much. There's way more syllables in there per measure. So we go from boom, kaboom, 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 boom to boom, kaboom, 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 boom,
like a double time kind of thing.
Into your chorus, you know.
Yeah.
Differentiate your sections.
That's cool.
You know, spend a lot of time thinking about that lyric.
Yeah.
That's the formula, I guess.
Well, that's good. That's great.
And live it.
Yeah.
I always live what you tell. If you don't live what you tell or know somewhat of it, it'll always come hard for you to write it.
Yeah.
It'll come hard for you to write it. To me, it does.
But with our process, back to that question, I'd like to talk about it because I think it's a really good case. I think it's been fun. I like to say that there's a million ways to skin a cat. It's kind of a cliche.
Right.
But in songwriting, if you're going to do it, if you're going to make a life of it, why not be open to every way that there is to write a song?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
And remember, this is a business as well. So when you look at the boys in L.A. doing their thing and you got 10 writers on that, well, what does that really mean? Does that mean 10 guys got together for a 2-hour session?
Right.
No way.
Word for a third or whatever.
My guess, and I'm not positive about this, but I would guess that would mean that this guy is really good at programming this sound. Mm-hmm. Or this guy is a really good lyricist, or this guy is a really good tambourine player. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But so what does that mean? That means that you can have a song that is all right, between me and Aaron. It could be a true collaboration where we got in the room and we started from a melody or from a title. Or it could be, hey man, I got a verse and a chorus. I need a second verse. Or I need a middle eight or a bridge. Mm-hmm. And the deals that I make with people when I write with them and writing the way that I do it, which is with my rig, and I'm, hoping to get a demo with them, is that whatever we come up with, we co-write, equal shares. Mm-hmm. We own our own publishing, and if we track something, the law is that whoever's vocal, the lead vocal, is part owner on the track.
Right.
So
cool. I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And if they're a main contributor as a player, so we both own the track. Mm-hmm. And that's, and I just think of it as a total. And there are songs that we started from the ground up. Yeah. Let's think about that. What was a song that we started ground up on this record?
Oh man, Lost in the Mix.
Lost in the Mix is an amazing example of it. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. Mm-hmm. And he came, you say, I want to write a song called Lost in the Mix.
Lost in the Mix, yeah.
And we just hashed out this incredible idea about what's going on around us culturally. And we came up with the chorus. I mean, literally, we spent all day, the first day, just getting the verse set up.
We've spent the whole day trying to figure out how can we make it, because Lost in the Mix is something getting lost in something, but we was trying to make it
it's
lost
a negative.
It's a negative. So we were making it like get lost in the mix of music.
Oh, okay.
That's what we need to be at during this time of this pandemic.
Right.
Listen to music.
Metaphor for the social unrest and all the craziness that's going on out there. So we come up with this chorus, and then literally we're driving home, and he says the line that seals the chorus that makes it totally. This idea is just floating there.
Yeah, right.
And we even set it, and it's weird because we were able to set it up with the verse. But what we ended up coming up with was, in the verse, is like Hendrix on electric, like 3-chord blues sung by Elvis. Redefine the status quo and live your life in stereo. The chorus is, in a crazy world, the only fix, throw your headphones on and get lost in the mix. From the city streets on out to the sticks, turn the volume up and get lost in the mix.
That's cool.
And I'm so proud of that,
Yeah,
man.
we was like, okay. We got back the next day. We was like, on it,
But
boy.
I remember you came up with that crazy, in a crazy world, the only fix line,
Yeah,
you know, which is like the
crazy.
first line in the chorus. As we were going home, you called me up. We thought we had the first line, but you
Yeah.
ended up coming up with that line instead. Okay, another way of skinning the cat. Aaron posts this song that he has, which ends up being the title track of the record, in its entirety. And I just hit him up on his post, on his Facebook post. It's him out in his front porch in his overalls picking this song about how he has cabin fever. And dude, I love songs, man. I'd never heard a song called Cabin Fever. That's a great freaking title. Why hasn't anybody written that yet? We're going through a pandemic. What's going on? I've heard The Fever. Remember Aerosmith had that?
Oh, yeah.
Cat Scratch Fever. What are some other fever titles?
I seen some out there, but when you listen to them, it's like, that's their version.
Fever.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like a thing. Like, right? If you were to write a book about song titles, there would have to be write a song with the word fever in it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Cabin Fever. Why the hell has nobody written Cabin Fever? And he just did it, and it was so cool. It wasn't a love song. It was about something. It was about something other than love, and it was really good. And he came to me and he says, "Hey, man, I'm so happy you like this. Would you help me finish it?"
Yeah.
And I swear to God, Nathan, I've been doing it a long time since we've known each other. That's all I've been doing. And I'm ashamed at how little success of monetarily I've had. I wish I could say I've had 30 number ones. But I've had my nose to the grindstone. And not many people bring ideas to the table. Every time it happens, I'm always like, thank you so much. That's wonderful. You know, and he brought me this idea, and I was so thankful. And we came up with a few lines, you know, and that you thought beat what you had.
Yeah, and it did.
And we made the demo at the same time, and I was working a little bit with in the studio with a producer that was showing me his philosophy on miking acoustic guitars. And so I was at the same time looking at Aaron's artistry, thinking, man, I really like the way he plays his guitar. I think it's interesting. I think it's different. And so I just took the opportunity to really try to mic his guitar well on that particular song, and that's what the basis of that track is around his unique playing style. And I was so happy to get to collaborate on that song with you, man.
Yeah, it was fun. I just wrote it. I got up one morning, put my hat on.
And your overalls.
And overalls.
Can we play it for you?
And
You sure can.
Can we grab our guitars and play it?
Let's do it.
Let's do
It
this,
was
man.
crazy, man.
We'll reposition the mics and get that going.
It was crazy. And then when I wrote it, I was like, I think that'd be good enough. I guess I'm going to put it up now.
Yeah, set this. You can set it right here.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Sitting at home, trying not to stay stoned. My baby got me loving even all night long. I'm healthy as a horse, but I eat like a hog. Front porch picking in my overalls, y'all. This old fender never sounded sweeter. Tell how I'm picking, yeah, I got cabin fever, yeah. Every morning I thank the Lord for seeing a day I never seen before. My TV screen like a looking glass, but the good book says this too shall pass. St. Peter. Lord have mercy, yeah, I got cabin fever. Yeah. Not to go insane, but being cooped up, yeah, I get to looking strange. My ears get long and I start to howl for a damn good time, yeah, that's what I'm crying about. If a wolf ain't wolfing way out in the timber, itching and scratching cause he got cabin fever. I ain't doing nothing, you ain't doing nothing either. If you know how I feel, then you got cabin fever. Yeah. If you know how I feel, then you got cabin fever. Yeah.
So that's the one I was telling you. He brought me that, and I was just so tickled pink. I love that song. It's a jam. That is a jam.
Yeah, it was just something, man. I woke up that morning. I had broke out a bottle of Gentleman Jack, and I got to messing around, and I'm like, man, I was just like, and I was like, sitting at home, trying not to stay stoned. My baby got me loving even all night long. So I just like, okay, so what can I do? What can I do to, like you said, paint this picture with the track? And so I love
with the melody.
Strings.
With the melody. I mean, that's a great, it's simple, but it's a great melody.
Simple is hard to write sometimes. But on that, like I said, fun, that was a lot of things. A big thing of it was fun. Being cooped up, it was the first thing that's the first time ever happened. COVID-19. It was.
Yeah.
I think it was around like, let's see, January, February, March. Yeah, and I just got in that bad boy and just got to messing around and when he said he liked it, I was like, oh man, I said okay, let's get it. And I thought on the second verse I had something like the fruit didn't fall far from the tree or something like that. And he said something about the TV screen like a looking glass. I'm like, you know what, dude? I said, that's for real, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it just...
We're all cooped up in there watching our TVs.
Yeah, and listening. And then I wrote a song a year ago. Actually, yeah. We released it February 25th. Called The Dark Wolf. And I consider myself the Dark Wolf. Like Hank considered himself as Luke the Drifter, you see what I'm saying? So it was like right. Two things. And so in this Cabin Fever song, we was like, what can we do in this third verse? And I said, well, I mean, we done done everything we can do, we've done everything, we go insane. I said, being cooped up, I said, we grow our hair out, that's what we tend to do. We do some of the craziest things. You know what, I'm gonna grow my hair out, I'm gonna do this. And I say, my ears get long and I start to howl. If a wolf ain't wolfing way out in the timber, you finna have some problems. So he got, a wolf. When he's out in a wolf got a wolf. He got to be a wolf. So as a man has to be a man. And when we're in Cabin Fever, we all tend to get to looking
strange,
man. I think everybody can relate to it.
You don't shave for a while and whatever.
Yeah, even the women, women. If it's you got Cabin Fever, you get out.
So there's a million ways to skin the cat.
Yeah.
That's one way. He brought an idea. Another way is, there's two of us. I bring him an idea. So there's a song on there. Let's see. What would be an example of that?
Which one's my $5?
Well, that was a collaboration.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think there's a song where I started with I had this idea for
Living
a long
above
time.
What's that?
My wife was a fashion stylist, and she would be able to get me free boots, free shoes. Just she shops at this place all the time and gets, so I would get these boots. I got this pair of boots, and I was like, man, these are the most beautiful shoes I've ever seen. And that would be a kind of cool song. Make it kind of do it from like if Kanye West were to write this totally egotistical dude, like Kanye, pretend it's Kanye West, and he was just writing about his shoes and how much. So I had this idea called Most Beautiful Shoes, and I just started putting the lyric together, and literally for 3 years I was putting this lyric together, and I pitched the idea to a few people, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. Why would you write about your shoes, So then we had just written Cabin Fever, and I'm sitting there staring at this lyric one night, and I'm thinking, what if it was boots? Wait, Aaron wears boots.
Light bulb. Bing.
So ding, ding.
I started doing the track, and my goal was to do the track so well, and then to pitch it to Aaron. You didn't know this. This is my idea. I'm going to pitch this to Aaron. I'm going to see if I can get him to bite on it. And
I did.
And I played him the track and what I had on the lyric, and I was like, man, dude, help me fill in some blanks on, like, I know some of these lines are weak, help me fill in some blanks and figure this out. And thank God you did, man, because I mean, it just, I'd just be a dude with a,
man, it was fun.
A stupid idea if you'd help me finish that.
I enjoyed the idea of it. It was just because I listen to like I said, I listen to a lot of outlaw country and stuff like that, and now you have country collaborating, going to rap and everything like that, and I always look at it like if we gonna do this, let's make this real. So, and I literally formed the verses, the stanzas, off of what's that song? I'll let you do it. Okay, when I was in early college, like my first year of college, there was a song. It was called. It's a Juvenile song.
Hey y'all.
Is it Back That Ass Up?
Yes.
It was Back That Ass Up?
Yes.
So he would do this cool thing where he'd be like, what were...
He's a big fine woman, won't you back the thing up?
Dun dun digga bucket back the thing up. Dun dun digga won't you back that thing up. So the rhyme wasn't on... of course, it was back that thing up the whole time, but the little section before it would rhyme too. Right. And so I just used that as a template for the lyric on this idea of most beautiful. Well, I was calling it Most Beautiful. And the idea is basically present the speaker as a guy talking about what you think is a woman at first. Right. And just talking about how beautiful this object is. But by the time you get to the chorus, you learn he's really talking about his boots.
The whole time.
Yeah. And it's backed up by just a jamming. I mean, we got 808s kicking. We got this cool stomp thing going, so it sounds like boots in a dance hall. I mean, it's badass.
That's cool.
Scratching. I had so much fun. And
so when did this album come out? Or is it out?
All right. Why don't you tell them?
We got Cabin Fever's out right now. It's video, but it won't be on any other forms till February 5th.
Okay.
The album Cabin Fever will be dropped probably a week after the second single we're gonna drop here.
Okay.
I don't know when they're gonna drop that, but
I think it's gonna be next month, and they're planning on releasing the single.
They put them on the spot, y'all.
And then, because I think the way tell me if I'm wrong, but if you release records on Spotify, you are no longer able to release singles and get them picked up by playlists.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's absolutely word, but
there's
gospel or
you have to submit. Like there's a week's time, like 7-day time, to where That's why you want to release a song like
Yeah.
like a month or 3 weeks in advance to give it time for it to get into the stores, and then you have that right like a week before it's actually released. There's a window to where you can submit it to like playlists and stuff like that. So I don't know how that would work for an album.
Okay, so we're releasing 2 singles first. The
Which
first
is
one, like you said,
smart.
February 5.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
And
singles.
then the next month, we're going to do the next single. And pretty soon after that, they're going to release the record. Now, we
Right.
did not know that we were making a record.
Yeah,
That's the thing. We were just writing songs.
We just writing songs.
And
That's how I started out, just writing. Whatever we came up with, just writing songs.
And before the pandemic hit, this dude was making a living as a singer. I mean, he was just singing everywhere. The Preston Hotel, downtown, this place, that place. I'd just be looking on his Instagram. He'd be like, I'm playing out here tonight.
Country
Dang.
Music Hall of Fame. Yeah, your boy did that too.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I know
So-
Eric. Oh, Eric Pasley. Yeah.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you get a singer that's working a lot and his voice is in a good place and he's writing a lot and his writing had just come so far. The last record he released, I just was loving a lot of these songs and I just felt like it was an opportunity. So I was like, dude, I'm going to write as many songs with this guy as I can right now because he's making records. It'd be wonderful to get some songs on his records. You know, I like what he's doing.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we wrote a bunch of songs, and Hal and Rachel Newman came to us and said, hey, guys, we really love what you're doing. You probably not seeing this coming, but we'd like to buy those tracks from you and market it as a pandemic record.
Yeah.
You know,
That's cool.
we have a vision for what it should be creatively and how the songs should be listed and art, you know, packaging and everything. And I'm still thrilled about it. I think it's wonderful when somebody recognizes what you're doing. And
So fill me in. What does that mean? Like when someone buys your tracks, like what is that doing
okay, so
for
back
them
to the
and for
business side of it, as a producer, writer,
you? Okay.
there's a copyright, and it happens immediately. There's
Right.
copyright when you write the lyric, you know,
Yeah.
and that happens immediately. And there's a copyright when you create a track, and that happens immediately. Well, that's my style of writing, and our style of doing it is we write and we record. I like to get it around his guitar part because I think his guitar playing is so unique. And
Get warmed up.
we record that, and then we start building a track, and he gives input and I give input, and we go for it, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so you end up, and he's delivering these amazing vocals because his muscle again is strong. He's been for a few years. I mean, he's been here for 7 years just doing it, and
Yeah.
it's at this great high level. And I was just like, wow, opportunity, right? And we wrote well together, and we were reciprocating with ideas, you know, and bringing each other ideas, and it was just clicking.
Yeah.
And at that point, you've got a body of work, and I think just early on, I said, hey, man, you know, we own these tracks together.
Mhm.
It's your voice,
Right.
you know. So, you know, if Hal wants to put one of these songs on his record, that's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to sell you guys on how awesome these songs are. I'd love to see one of these get cut by you got your production, Hal, and your production process. That'd be wonderful if you take one of these. And
Yeah.
well, it turns out they wanted to actually use our tracks.
Okay.
Yeah. And we own them, so there has to be a transaction. You know, you have to
Gotcha.
sell the copyrights.
Okay.
Not the underlying copyright, not the words and the music.
So he wants to take
the
the
publishing.
songs and like get them cut by somebody else, or
No. They, as a record label,
just
now
to market
own
them. Okay.
those tracks.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They don't, you know, I still own my underlying copyright.
Sure.
He still has his underlying copyright, but they own the tracks.
Yeah.
You know, and there's all sorts of ways of different deals back end that can happen,
Yeah.
that it did happen. And, you know, that's the creativity. you
So
know.
now it just
You
means
get various
that
deals.
they own part of it as well, so they get a cut and y'all get a cut whenever
Yeah.
it sells, or streamed
exactly
or
right.
whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. But they're incentivized because they own most of it, and that's all of it. We made a great deal, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to do it.
Right. So y'all actually get money on the front end because they bought it from you, right?
Absolutely. And like I said, like you get creative. There's all sorts of ways to creatively figure out what you need, right? Like, for me, the most important thing is, dude, if this thing blows up, don't leave me in the dust.
Right.
You know, that's the most
If you
important
go make a
thing.
million, don't give me $10.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not trying to break anybody here. You know, I did it just because I thought they were demos.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Now, if I was a staff producer for Big Loud like Joey Moy, yeah, I'd want, it'd be a different situation. But again, there's a million different ways to skin the cat when you're making deals too. So I'm very pleased with it. And now I'm incredibly motivated as a co-writer and a co-producer with Aaron to help make that project an instrument that satisfies my goal of getting songs to *1 on country radio. That's a sign that's on as soon as you open my door. And I don't want to jive talk or anything, so that's can only be good for Aaron's careers to have hits.
Right.
We live in them. We just got to put them down on paper, But that's how it started out, though. It's just writing. We never thought it was going to be an album. We just writing what we felt. Because I don't think all the country artists get to do that.
Yeah.
When you look at it, I don't think they get to write what they, what the feel, what people. I mean, everybody don't go out and party and feel every day instead of tailgate and drink. Everybody don't do that every day, But we all do, like, pay bills. We all get cooped up. We all got boots we like. We all got our favorite place to eat. We all have woman trouble. We all have, we all like swimming with women.
Yeah.
So it's things that, when it comes to writing a song, should nothing be held back. And when it comes to recording and producing, I look at it as like what we done. It's demo, but at the end of the day, it's music. So if it's on the front porch or if it's in the studio, that's why I look at it. And I think Nashville, I think America, I think the world need to hear the music we're making. I mean, it's bluesy, it's country, it's rock, it's got a little bit of rap, if you want to say. It's depending on how you take to it. And it's hitting all over the board. If you're going to I tell anybody, if you're going to make an album, hit all over the board. Do something that you ain't used to doing. Step out of your comfort zone. When I first moved here, somebody told me, what's his name? Eddie Gore. Eddie said, Aaron Vance, you do country. He said, it's all good. He said, but what else can you do? He said, step out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would tell anybody, if you're going to make an album, step out of your comfort zone. Do everything you can on that album till you pretty much dotted every I and crossed every T, pretty much.
That's cool.
So, yeah. Yeah, man, that's the road to it, because I didn't know that we was gonna write an album. I just know we was at
We were having
1
fun.
o'clock in the morning in the studio, man, talking about some howling.
And I feel like we could, write another record if we wanted to. We definitely have a process, and we definitely click and all those wonderful things. And
We own it, man.
the cool thing about also you, Aaron, that you've been doing is I love where you're coming at as a songwriter. I feel like in the last 2-3 years, your song, like, you probably could, like, even Cabin Fever, before you invited me in on it, was like, that could have been a done song.
Yeah.
Could have been a done song. And I'm really thankful that you let me, explore what you thought could be tighter. And, but the fact that you're able to write such good songs by yourself is the number one most amazing thing about you, man. You have a completely unique perspective. So, for example, where does that come in handy in this process? I had this idea for a long time, and let's say the theme of it is, if Lincoln was here today, if Abraham Lincoln was here today, what would he say about the state of everything? And I'm not going to get political on you.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless of what side of the table you're on, I think Abraham Lincoln, who I think we all can agree was a good guy, would be kind of not happy with the way things are going. You know, doesn't matter where you're at, both sides, and that was the theme of this idea that I wanted to write for literally years. And so I'm working with Aaron, and I'm thinking, man, that would be, because you have all these ideas, and as a songwriter, I really started to get freed up when I started writing with a lot of different people and thinking, man, what would that idea that came from Richard Karg's head, that whenever I write, because I was an artist, I always think about it came from something that I wanted to say first. But what would that sound like coming from a woman's perspective?
Right.
Oh, that breathes new life into it. That gives so many more other lyrical possibilities. Well, what would Lincoln say? Well, what if that came from a black man? How interesting is that?
Right.
Wow, I'm working with Aaron Vance right now. Well, if I can make this into something, maybe he'll like it and want to sing it. Well, I was sitting on the couch and I was watching, I can't remember what movie it was, but somebody just said, well, $20 says that such and such. I don't even remember what it was about. Said $20 says. And I just thought to myself, that's it. That's how you write the song. Because who gives a shit about a song about what would Lincoln say? I mean, that's just a soapbox idea. Who cares? It's an idea, but there's no concept to what makes it a cool. No, you have to have a theme. What is this thing actually about? And then you have to have a concept. What is the unique twist? Whether it be lyrically or musically, or there has to be some sort of concept that makes it interesting. And that was it. $5 says. So I wrote the chorus. $5 says we're still created equal. $5 says he's still be honest, Abe. Pull my wallet out and ask him right now. $5 says he's rolling in his grave. He'd say it ought to be illegal to keep a man down this long. Never know for sure, but if I was to guess, that's what $5 says. I got stuck after that. I didn't know how to set it up.
Right.
I had no idea. I tried a couple things and
that's
sucked.
just the chorus, right?
That's just the chorus.
Right.
Idea is $5 says. Well, the idea is Lincoln would not be, no matter what side of the table you're on, Lincoln would just be like, guys, you're messing this up. So.
Yeah. Oh, Lincoln, yeah.
With Aaron, I get together and I tell him about the idea, and we get in the room and he's willing to explore it. And he says, well, put them at a bar. Put two guys at a bar. Mm-hmm. And that was it. We figured it out very easily.
You could say anything at that point because all kinds
guys.
of stuff are said at bars, Just simple conversations between two people, just...
$5 says, it's a guy calling you. So it ends up being, what would Lincoln say if he were here today, sitting at this bar talking like we are? What would Lincoln do watching all this news? He wouldn't turn his head, I'm willing to bet. $5 says we're still created equal. $5 says he's still be honest, Abe. Pull my wallet out and ask him right now. $5 says he's rolling in his grave.
That's good.
He'd say it ought to be illegal to keep a man down this long. Never know for sure, but if I were to guess, that's what $5 says.
Killer.
And not saying that you should be unhappy with the current administration. Not saying that at all. I'm saying the way the people in the country are treating each other. That's
Right.
it.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. I'm not talking about politics at all. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the way we treat each other.
Right.
Lincoln would be rolling in his freaking grave right now. That's not what this could be.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of that. So that's my favorite song I've ever been a part of.
It's
Ever.
tight. It's like I said, we never thought it would get to an album. We were just writing.
And a song like that is as charged as it was, I didn't even think about doing a track to it. It was just a guitar and a vocal.
Yeah, guitar and vocal, yeah.
I was like, you know what? There's no way that anybody's, going to think this is as cool as I do.
Right.
So, well,
So they
thank
hear
God
it.
for
Yeah.
Rachel Newman and Hal Newman, and they included it in the project and loved the song. I had no idea. Literally, we wrote it, and months later, they're like, yeah, that song's on the record. And they put it at
Yeah,
the number
they did.
2 spot.
Wow.
An acoustic song at the number 2 spot. I think it's a brilliant idea. As a guy who has sequenced his own records in his head for years, I never would have thought to put that right there at the number 2 spot. But
That's kind of the fun. I remember when doing Feedback Revival a few years ago, doing our self-titled album, which was our second album, and just because you got a batch of songs, but then you're like, what would it sound like if we like did this song into that one, and the whole thing, how it flows. It's just another creative aspect of it, that unless you're in there actually doing it, like you don't even think about it. It's like, if you're listening to, I like Coldplay or all kinds of rock stuff, whatever, but like how the songs flow from one to the next is just makes it even more powerful.
Yeah, it does. It really
Because
does.
it's almost you can stack the messages.
Yes.
Like in a certain way.
You can't. Yeah, you can. That's pretty much how they stacked this one, and it was interesting. I had them on my on my phone. I had the songs a different way, and I was like, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And so when I heard it, I was like, oh, okay. And so it was a fun thing. That was they stacked it pretty well, and it tells a hell of a pandemic story.
That's cool.
Yeah.
well, we got a bunch of them. The reason I was having lunch with Hal and Rachel today is because Hal and I went over and picked up copies of the record.
Yeah.
They got some promotional ones printed. I want you to have a copy.
Cool, yeah.
It's
I appreciate
all
it.
yours, bro.
Pump it, man.
Enjoy it.
We'll crank it up here.
Enjoy it, and I'd love to know what you think about it. And if it's not your cup of tea, that's okay, man. It really is. But
Oh, I listen to everything.
He'll find something he'll like.
If you got an 808 and a dobro, hey, I'm good.
Man.
I think you'll like it.
We in that
think you'll
bad
like
boy, dude. Just that's the most fun I ever had making an album. It was too fun. To go in at different times at night, morning, night, man. That's where it's at, That was a fun thing about it, though.
And they let me mix it, and they let me master it. And mastering
Yeah.
is something I'd never done before.
Yeah.
And I learned a whole bunch, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to do Richard Karg's version of mastering, for what it's worth.
Sure.
I had a great time. It was a learning curve for sure, and I'm sure I'm only scratching the surface.
So this is a geek out test, but do you like K14, K12? What's your mastering volume that you set levels at? Or do you know what I'm talking about? The K system.
No, I don't. What I did was use loudnesspenalty.com.
Okay.
I went to loudnesspenalty.com and I made sure that my mixes, which is an amazing website that for free you're allowed to take your track and make sure and put it onto their site, and it will tell you what each Spotify, Amazon, all of the streaming services, what they would do to adjust it to make it, fit to their standards.
Right. Because they have an algorithm that they go off of. So if it's too loud, they're going to knock it down. If it's too soft, they're going to bring it up, regardless of what you send them. So it's like they're going to change it anyway.
Right.
You know.
And what I wanted it to do was I wanted it to be I wanted to shoot to make each one of my tracks to where they would have to bring them down no more than 2, but 1 to 2.
Right.
And so that as far as headroom, you know, like instead of them bringing it up a little bit, they'd just be bringing it down because, like you just said, they're going to normalize it their own selves, you know.
Yeah.
So, and as far as what you were just talking about, the K14 is it K12?
Yeah.
Please tell me. I'm trying to learn all this crap.
Well, sorry, folks, we're going to geek out for a second on recording lingo, but back in the 80s, Bob Katz, this is where the K comes from, he basically created a standard of measurement for
Loudness.
For loudness of audio and for video, like movies and stuff. You know, because that's why when you're in a theater, like things can get like super loud, but yet you can still hear like normal dialogue.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all mastered in such a way to where, like classical music is usually like around the K20 setting. And all that means is like if you got from the floor all the way to the top, that's like your full scale, DBFS full scale. So what the K system's doing is saying, we're taking, if it's K14, for instance, we're taking 14 dB from the top and moving it down to the negative 14 area and now making that 0. Right? So your RMS level, which is the average loudness of your track, is hitting that K14, which is now 0 mark. And now your peaks have all that headroom to go up to 0 without going over. That's why we have a limiter set at like negative 0.1 or something,
Right.
just to catch any like little transients that
Right.
that would naturally make your song peak, but now it's not. Right. So that's all it's doing, really. It's just giving you a standard of measurement of loudness.
Right.
And I think Spotify, they do theirs at like negative 14. YouTube might be something different, like 12 or something. I don't know, whatever it is. But like that just gives you a good range. And most of the time, I mean, people say if you mix a song, like mix it to a loudness of like K20. So that way when you do send it to a mastering engineer, he has plenty of room to work with.
Yes.
Versus giving him like a K10 track, which is like already squashed. And it's already like his hands are tied. He can't do anything at that point.
Right.
You know,
Right.
So you're just allowing each part of the path of the audio to like room to breathe. You want those transients. I think of it like if you compress something too much, it's almost like you're trying to punch somebody, but like you're short arming them, right? But to get the full impact, you want that arm to reach all the way out, right? So that's what you want the audio to do. Is that you want all those transients to have the full spectrum.
Right.
So that way you're not choking it out.
Well, I think this is going to be, if you listen to it, I think you'll like it because you're going to hear a lot of those imperfections. You're going to hear a guy mixing and mastering, and it's going to sound funky, and it's going to sound, but I think that that's one of the coolest things about this project is that it's funky.
Right.
All the way down. And, you know, my style of recording has always been, and for me, like the goals, you know, I pitch my songs, I pitch them to artists, I pitch them to whoever, you know, is I can find that's looking. And I've always been trying to make those demos sound better and better. And I've got friends that a guy named Kyle Ginther has helped me out so much. Another guy named JC Monterosa. And these guys have taught me about, you know, parallel compression and 2 mixes and what I'm using on my master fader. And
right.
You know, as far as that's the extent of my geek out, but the fact that I was able to get to master it at the same time, I think that's a really cool thing to do because you know your track really well.
Right.
And I spent a lot of time doing what a mastering engineer, I think Goodwin does, but I did a lot of that in the actual mixing. You know, in the mixing process, I was doing tons of EQing while I was mixing. I was doing, you know, I was messing around with that the whole time, and so
that's awesome, man.
in headroom, yeah, you've got to leave headroom for these guys to work, and it's I'm just thankful. To me, if I can grow more as a mastering engineer for my own stuff, I think that'd be a beautiful thing, because you really have so much control, and there's so much knowledge out there about how to do things. And so, for example, Nathan, I'd pay you if you wanted to come over, and I'd spend. Hey man, what can I pay you to come spend a day with me and teach me what you know about this? You know, and you come over to my office, and I'd take notes, and I'd be like, all right, cool.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich would be good enough. You know, I don't care.
But you know what I mean. And then the next 30 songs that I write, I'm tracking and I'm applying that, and I'm mastering.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm adding what I learn, and so it's just fun, man. I love it. I freaking love it. I'm in love with the whole process, and it might not sound as good as the next guy, but you know what? I'm using that as my, you know, David had the advantage of being small and quick relative to Goliath. You know what I mean?
Well, he had the Lord on his side too, so that helped a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
He had some rocks in that thing, boy. Give anybody a headache, you hear me?
Right.
Yeah.
He had 3 stones that were damn deadly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was the funny thing about my story is, you know, I went to MTSU, but I was a music industry major, which was technically a music major with like a recording minor.
Okay.
But it's more like the business side, like copyright law, whatever, snooze alert, you know, all that stuff. Hey, I love that class so much, I took it twice, okay?
Was it Jeff both times?
No, it was Lauren Moraine the first time,
that's
which
cool.
I follow him on Instagram. I reached out to him and was like, hey, we should do a track together or something. It'd be fun.
Hey,
but,
Lauren. Hope you're doing well. Hope you get to...
I know, man. But it was cool. I knew a lot of people in the program. So I was always in the studio, like wrapping cables, setting up mics. And I think once you catch the bug, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah,
Which
man,
is why I have all this stuff everywhere. You know, 20 years later, here I am, you know, like sitting with you guys, talking about music, talking about gear and recording, and working with bands, working with singers. I work a lot with Lance Allen, who does fingerstyle acoustic music. Yeah. He's the king of Spotify. He pays his mortgage and then some every month, just with Spotify streams. So I think last month he got like 500,000 streams just in 1 month. Jeez. But he's cranking out like cover tunes. He's doing originals. He does a thing with Avery Bright. Yeah, Avery Bright. He does violin stuff. So they have a duo now where he'll play the guitar. Avery will do the violin arrangement. It's just gorgeous stuff. I'll send you some links. But so I record a lot of Lance and, you know, just sharpening my skills, just working with different music, different artists, and
that's amazing.
You know, it's fun.
What are your I've kind of showed you my hand, like what I'm going for. What is the dream for you? What is?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
At first, when I was in the band, when I was in Feedback, which I loved, I still love. I would play shows still if I could. But we've kind of moved on, and me and Dan, like, we still love each other. We still, you know, respect each other, but we just kind of moved on from that. But the Europe tour really showed me that I wasn't cut out for the road, especially with wife and kids. It's not for me. So I like being behind the glass. I like sitting here pushing the buttons and working with people. And so I guess my end goal, if I could imagine my perfect day, would to wake up, make breakfast for my family, work on music with whoever, maybe work on some YouTube videos. And that's another aspect that I really kind of fell into in the last 3 or 4 years, was my heart is for teaching, but I never wanted to be like a band director or anything like that. So I love doing private lessons. You know, I teach guitar, bass, drums, piano, all kinds of instruments.
Yeah.
I've had banjo students before, whatever, I'll teach anything. Because it's music, it's just language, language of music. So, so when I found YouTube, and you mean I can just set up a camera and just start teaching and release it and people actually watch this stuff, and it's cool because I got a memory on my Facebook like 3 years ago, like as of like a month ago, whatever. 3 years ago, I had like 300 subscribers, and now I just passed like 7,300. So I'm growing. I mean, some people can do that.
Yeah.
Some people can get like 100,000 in 3 years, but like I got 7. Okay, well, it just means I got 7,000 people that actually give a crap and like subscribe, click the bell. They keep watching video after video. They keep commenting, asking me more questions, which gives me more ideas about future videos. It's like, so I can teach through the internet. Okay, that's cool. So I also have a website, Dr. Mcfarland Studios, and I have a membership where I teach about music theory, gear, and recording. And so now I have like over 100 videos talking about music theory, talking about recording, talking about mainly the head rush, pedal board. But I'm just using it as a platform to teach about amps, pedals, guitars, effects, that whole aspect of it. So that's really my end goal is like, I want to make money through YouTube, through my website, and through the studio. Just do music full time.
That's awesome.
It hasn't happened yet, but I'm getting there. I need to put a sign beside my bed or something and just look at it every day before I go to bed and when I wake up,
But you're able to do it, man. That's the thing
Yeah.
about it, though.
But in the meantime, I'm slinging and flinging at Publix, helping out little old grannies get pickles off the top shelf, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a people person, I have a heart for people.
Yeah.
I'll serve you. I'll clean your boots. I'll go and grab some garlic for you off aisle 2. I don't care. If I can serve you in any way, that's what I'm here for.
I mean, you're looking at 2 working men right here, man. That's
right.
That's the deal. And you've got when you're in. You remember Tom Hutchison at MTSU?
Yeah.
So we were there at a very interesting time. We were there in the early 2000s.
Right.
Okay, here we are 20 years later.
I had just got my first cell phone in 2004.
Wow.
I didn't have a cell phone until after I graduated college.
Man.
My family moved to Nashville in 1983 to pursue my father's songwriting. My father is a great songwriter. He writes songs by himself to this day and records them and he actually is starting his own podcast where it's called I Love Songs. And
that's cool. I would listen to that.
Oh, it's so cool. He does live stuff at different times of the day for different parts of the country. It's a really cool idea. Anyways, what I grew up watching him at the Bluebird, and when I really got interested, and I went and saw my favorite songwriter of all time, Costas. I remember when I was 16, 17 years old, and just fell in love with. All right, I think I'd like to give this a try. And I remember at that time in the 90s, you could make a lot of money as a songwriter on cuts, album cuts.
Oh yeah.
You can make a living, And let's define living as $40,000 or more a year. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, that's one half of a partnership. A married couple. Both make $40,000. That's almost $100,000 a year. That's a good living. And you get to when we're in college, and the atom bomb drops with digital and MP3s and file sharing.
Napster.
Publishing is literally decimated. The word decimal means 1/10. Mm-hmm. Publishing goes from this thing that I grew up with to where. And I remember Tom Hutchison when we were in college saying, I think we're training, us as professors at MTSU are now going to be training a working class of musicians.
Right.
And I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't understand it. But I always wonder, there's a lot of guys that I always wonder what are the actual what's the actual real number of songwriters who are making a living now?
Right.
And, there's a lot of people that are songwriters, but how many of them are actually, and let's define a living as making $40,000 a year consistently or more. And what I'm thinking I'm seeing, and there's no way of really knowing because I'm not that privileged or inside or whatever, but I think there's a whole lot of working class, blue collar songwriters, musicians out there,
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Right now I have been blessed enough to be invited into a situation where I'm learning how to do demolition and handyman stuff for a family that I grew up with, and getting a bunch of work doing that. So I go in every day with my hard hat and my
getting it.
Overalls and get a good
boots.
workout.
You got your big boots over here.
Hey, he's getting it, man.
Those are serious boots, man.
He is getting it.
Oh yeah.
But Aaron, and the pandemic just threw a wrench in everything, didn't it?
Right.
How did you navigate the pandemic?
I was at Guitar Center. They had cut my hours like 8 hours a week. Which like,
Wow.
but that one, like, because of the pandemic, it was just like, I keep getting less and less hours. Why? I don't understand.
Whoa, it was cutting like that, boy.
Yeah, it was weird. So, the manager at Publix, he would come in on his lunch break, and he was like, I can get your job over at Publix. So I let it go for like a month. I think that was like January. Then like in February, I was like, I ain't making no money here, dude. Like, commission at Guitar Center is like, whatever commission you make for that month, you don't get paid till the second pay period of the next month. How can you support a family like that?
Whoa.
On 8 hours a week?
Nope.
It can't happen.
No.
I've made no money. So anyway, it's the way it is. That's why I'm in credit card debt, but whatever. So yeah, I started at Publix, and I think about that time, COVID really started getting serious. You know, everything started shutting down, and I was like, I never thought of myself working at a grocery store, but it's kind of, it's essential worker.
You're darn right it is.
People got to have their food, so
For real, yes.
This coming March, here in a few months, it'll be 1 year since I've been at Publix, and it's a great company. I love the values there. I love the people work hard. I work hard. We all get along great. We've got a great team of people I work with, and I'm just
chicken too.
Dude.
Got some good bread.
Yes,
bread,
Publix bread.
everything there. So it's just really a blessing to be in that situation and try something new. I just turned 40 back in November, and it's like,
Happy birthday.
so far I've been a college student, a Sam's Club cart pusher. I worked at Gibson for 10 years, a warehouse picker and trainee. I was a trainer at a warehouse because I like teaching, so they put me in a training position, which is cool.
That's awesome.
Insurance agent, guitar seller at Guitar Center, and now a Publix slinging that dog food on shelves.
Yeah, that's
Hey, the 50-pound
awesome.
the 50-pound bag of dog food is no joke, man.
Oh, I bet
You got to have some guns to pick that stuff up.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Proud of you. I mean,
Just
here
keep
we
going,
are. We're all of the exact same. We're of the Oregon Trail generation. I'm turning 40 in February next month, and you turned 40 last month.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's a very
Happy
rare
birthday,
thing,
guys.
man. Our generation went through the crash in 2008, right as we got out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Big time affected me and my brother's career. Big
Oh, yeah.
time. All of a sudden, we're getting all great bookings, and we're having to spend every dollar we make on gas so we can get there. It's pretty demoralizing, man.
Oh, yeah.
And here we are in a pandemic, and we're we're doing what we have to do to make it happen because we got families.
Right.
And you guys are good men, and Aaron, I'm so proud to be working with you, and I'm so happy to reconnect with you
Yeah.
and hear that you're doing so well.
I'm more of a music guy than a lyric. I can do lyrics, but I love it. I have a few projects right now where this guy, I think he's up in Kentucky. He sends me his lyrics, no melody or anything, and I just put the music to it. I do the melody, I do the production and everything. I like that.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes he can send me a lyric, or I can get a lyric and I can interpret it totally different way than what they originally intended, and I can just flip it on its head and be like, "This is what I came up with," and they love it.
There's a million ways to skin a cat.
I know, man. That's crazy.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to do it, man. That's an awesome way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll even like taking words out. It's like I'll rewrite a line if I don't think it fits or whatever.
Here's a book that you should read that would totally be in your wheelhouse. Do you read a lot?
I need to do more, but I need but I need to do more.
I have a lot of time.
I love that answer.
It's like I should, but no, not really.
Do you drive a lot?
All the time, yeah.
Okay, so get it audiobooks on tape. It's the best way to do it. There's a book called it's about Rodgers and Hammerstein, and I'm blanking. It came out 2 years ago, and it totally talks about the way that they it's biographical for each of them, and then it shows how they got together. And these are the guys that did Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
I
Where
think
the wind comes sweeping down the plains.
I think the last major one that they did was like The Sound of Music, but that was their process. They literally were never together when they wrote songs.
Wow.
I mean, it happened when they were together, but most of the time, 90% of the time, let me get this right. Hammerstein was in Connecticut, and Rodgers was, I think, in New York. And Hammerstein, and they eventually very quickly they had success together, and they started their own production company, so they were able to control more of the process for their plays and have their hands in more parts of it. But anyways, the music is what it's all about. Again, that's the most important thing. And they would, Hammerstein would come up with the lyrics, and he would write the play. He'd basically write it, and he'd send it over to Dick Rodgers. And Dick was just this amazing musician who was always working at his craft, becoming a better musician, piano player.
Yeah.
And he'd be taking what he'd be learning on at the time and throw it in the new crop of songs. That's a great way to do it, man.
Yeah,
that's got to be fun.
Well, I mean, you think of like Elton John and Bernie Taupin or anybody that like you got a music guy, you got a lyric guy.
Boom.
Peanut butter and jelly, man. Just slap them together.
Slap them together, baby. It's gonna work.
I think that's awesome. Do you continue to learn more stuff about guitars? And you must be if you're always diving into this gear.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just got 2 new ones.
And do you find
learn about those?
Do you find it coming out in the songwriting? Do you find those?
I explore different tones and stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Songwriting rocks.
So let's wrap this thing up and let's say what's the goal for the rest of this year? We just started a new year, 2021. What's on the agenda for you guys?
I'll let you go first.
Oh man, one thing is get this album out there, but we work harder doing what we do. Rich said something today that's the truth about that should be true about every artist. And he said Cabin Fever is a song. He said when you wrote that song, he said we wrote that song with that song has legs. And we as artists are here on this earth for something. And the goal for this year is to, whatever we do, writing, whatever we write, make sure we write it with legs. So therefore, when we leave here, the songs that we wrote will always walk with a step and never get old. So my goal is this year is to keep pushing what we got and make sure we push it to the best that we can and to get it out there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And to live off of it, not have to go Instacart.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the
goal.
absolute goal.
You know, I can't be the best singer of all time, but just to make my name and to say, hey, he did it, and he was one of the ones that walked the walk and talked the talk. So yeah, but my goal is to push it.
It's cool.
And to live off of it. So yeah.
One song a month, written and recorded, that I wrote by myself, with trying to continue to become a better, better melody. And I think another thing that pertaining to Aaron that I'm trying to grow is my ability to think big. I think that there needs to be a major paradigm shift in the way I've been thinking about how to promote this record. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking, like, for example, of a guy that makes the kind of money that I make. I need to start thinking about, the kind of money I make is a joke to the people that actually promote records in the country music business. Right. So for me to get $10,000 to invest into it would take, a quarter of my year. I can't afford to do that. So I need to figure out a way to think bigger. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have the record, man. I think we really have the record, and we have the vehicle. The artist is amazing, and it's just, I need to figure out a way to think really freaking way bigger than I've been thinking.
Right.
And I that takes help. I'm looking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's awesome, guys. Well, thanks for coming in. I was expecting Rich and got a little something extra, which is
Aaron
great.
Vance.
Yeah, man, it was I wasn't expecting it either, to tell you the truth. Like I said, a few hours ago, we was at Target picking up some baby clothes and
that's where it all starts.
Yeah, man, whatnot. So I know she's probably at home like, when he get here, I'm going to leave him up for the rest of the night. Yeah. Man, it's fun, man. It's thank you for having us too, man.
Yeah,
this thanks, is great. Nathan. Man,
I've been trying to find people, because the podcast name is Community of Confident Musicians, which is really it's not about a website or a Facebook group, but it's more of when you become confident in what you do, you can therefore go and teach others to do the same.
Yeah.
And then not overnight, but like eventually the community grows of these people that are like more and more confident. They're more confident on stage, more confident in the studio, in songwriting, whatever aspect of music they're working on at the time is like once you become more confident in that, it just gives you more avenues to think bigger. Because you don't know what you don't know.
That's
right?
Yeah.
Until you do know a little bit more and more and more, and then that's where things start really going off. So that's my goal. Is like just teach what I've learned over the years, pass it on to somebody else, and then hopefully they can do that for the next person, the next person, the next person. So
that's what we're here for.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, man. Anytime, let's do it again.
Oh man, it was a blast. It's great.
Maybe we need to have a whole podcast of just like capturing a writing session or something. That might be fun.
Dude, I guarantee you we can make it happen.
Man.
Oh yeah.
I guarantee we can make it happen.
That'd be cool.
And you got a lot to write about. You have a lot to write about, brother. Yeah. You have a lot to write about. You can write like that, the stuff you're doing.
But like I said, I may not start. I don't like starting lyrics, but I love taking other people's lyrics and like expounding on them.
Yeah.
Because it gives me like a roadmap or like a good starting point, and then I can go off.
Oh yeah.
From there,
Well, it's.
But just like you with the phone thing, like I have a whole notes, like the notes app on your phone. I have a whole thing just of like YouTube video ideas and like little phrases and stuff.
It's where it has to start somewhere.
Because when you're stocking pickles at Publix, it's just like
Your mind is going
Yeah.
off.
Yes.
I love doing a job
Yes.
to where I don't really have to think.
Yes.
So I can think about other things like music.
Exactly. That's why I like Instacart.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like Instacart. Yes.
Well, folks, that was a great example of what can happen when you get three musicians in the same room and you just start talking about life and music and everything and just having a blast. So I really do appreciate Rich Karg and Aaron Vance coming in, just talking about their heart and what they've been up to the last however long since they've known each other, and what it really takes to do the songwriting thing. I mean, you really have to be committed to it, have it be a daily thing that you just do because you love it. And I hope anyone out there that wants to be a songwriter can get some inspiration from our conversation here. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you like the podcast, give it a 5-star review. Let me know what you think. So that's all for this week's episode. I will see you next time. Keep rocking.